welcome to Your Mac Life for what are you laughing at? Wednesday, December the 4th. First Wednesday in December. I'm Shawn King.
I'm Melissa King.
Thank you guys very much for joining us here on this Wednesday evening. Hopefully you've finished your Christmas shopping, or at least are well on your way. Excuse me. We're doing a show here.
I'm sorry, my phone was ringing.
Your computer was ringing.
Yeah.
On tonight's show, we'll talk to our good friend, as always, Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. We're going to talk about Apple News Plus and Apple TV Plus. We'll talk about electric vehicles, Apple Awards, and Christmas. Along with, we might do, and I have a question segment with the pretty redhead off to my right. She's not sure about it yet.
Oh, it's not a question, just a comment. And I guess it could turn into a question.
Okay. We'll see. Let's see how it goes. Maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't. I don't know. Blinky lights. Oops, on this side. Blinky lights. Blinky lights means it's time for Christmas. The blinky lights were Melissa's idea. We got these. We went to Costco last week. Oh, sorry. It's partially our lives, partially where we live, that going to Costco is a big deal. You know,
it's too fun.
It's not something that we can do because we live. Not only we live an hour away, we live a ferry ride away, and the ferry costs money to get there. So we have to plan our Costco trips. And I think part of it's fun just because you and I have fun when we go places. So we went to Costco, and Melissa saw these beautiful little lights. We got a bunch. They look really good for you decorator types. They look especially good when you put them into a bottle of some kind, a glass bottle, or even a colored bottle. We've got one in a red vase, and the blinky bits look beautiful. We were saying earlier in the pre-show, it looks like you've captured a bunch of fireflies and put them in a bottle. It's really, really pretty. And definitely something that, because these lights are multicolored, they're bright white or they're Christmas colors, you can set them to whatever color you want them to flash at, or not flash. They can be solid. We're going to keep these on. These are not Christmas lights that get put away at the end of the season. We're going to keep them around the house because they're very pretty.
Beautiful.
We have this long hallway in the house. At the end of the hallway is a mirror and Melissa's dresser. And on that dresser is a beautiful picture of her mom. And we've got one of these blinky light setups in a bottle next to that, and it reflects it really nicely with the lights of the mirror and the hallway. And it's really a pretty view.
Yeah, it's a beautiful effect.
So Christmas is around the corner, 21 days away. As we said on 2 weeks ago, we want your Christmas greetings. Send them to us, Shawn at YourMacLifeShow.com. Just do a video with your name and location, and video Christmas greetings, Hanukkah, Festivus, Kwanzaa, whatever it might be. I saw a funny word the other day, someone who celebrates both major ones. It's called Christmas Nukkah.
Christmas Nukkah?
Christmas and Hanukkah.
Hunnimus? Sounds like hummus.
I like Hanukkah better.
Hunnimus.
Hanukkah is
Instead of trying to put Christmas first.
Just send us who you are, where you're from, who you want to say Merry Christmas to. We already got one from our good friend Monty down there in Atlanta, Georgia. So we want to see yours too. We'll play these on the December 18th show. That will be the last show of 2019 because we don't do a show in the week between Christmas and New Year's. And this year, Christmas is on a Wednesday. So we're not doing a show that Wednesday. We're not doing a show the following Wednesday. And the Wednesday after that is New Year's. So we're going to miss 3 shows, 3 Wednesdays. So please send them off to me at Shawn at YourMacLifeShow.com. We'll get them on the December 18th. So it doesn't matter what format you shoot them in. It doesn't matter whether they're landscape or portrait, or we're just use your iPhone and send us the thing. You can send me the video directly. You can email it to me. You can Dropbox it. You can do whatever you need to do to get the video to me. Don't worry about it. I'll be able to handle whatever formats you throw at me. It has nothing to do with Christmas. I'm trying to figure out how to do this and then get back into Christmas stuff. I heard the most disturbing news today. News that literally shook me to the core of my being. I discovered via Facebook that my baby brother, David, is a grandfather. How? He's 9. You know, in my memory, David is 9 years old. I'll always think of him as being 9 years old. And I knew he had kids. Maximilian is the father of the grandchild. But it's just a weird thought that my little brother, David, is a granddad. A beautiful little granddaughter named Aubrey. Which is really cool because it means my mom is a great-grandmother.
That's right.
Which she's going to hate. She's definitely going to hate that. So, but it's wonderful that she has a great-grandchild now. So, but yeah, my little brother's a grandfather.
It's wonderful. Aubrey's first Christmas.
Aubrey's first Christmas. And then we had a family fight here. And because you guys know me, I spew my entire life out to the entire internet. Melissa and I got into a big fight earlier this week. And sorry, Melissa, I have to tell people this. We had a fight over real versus fake Christmas trees.
Oh.
We didn't have a fight. But yeah, you've always had, because she's Australian, you've always had fake Christmas trees, haven't you? Mm-hmm. Even when you lived here, when you moved to Canada, you continued to have fake Christmas trees.
Yes.
When you had a tree, it was a fake one.
Yes, mostly.
And
yes.
I've never had a fake tree. I'm from Nova Scotia, which is a major Christmas tree growing area in the world. Oregon and I think Nova Scotia are the two biggest places. Christmas trees are real Christmas tree sales have been plummeting for years now for any number of reasons. By the way, fake trees are not more environmentally friendly than real trees. Did you know that? Just by the nature of having to create a fake tree. They'll probably save you money depending on where you buy your tree. But I'm trying to convince Melissa, I don't know if we're going to do this. We can legally here in British Columbia go into the woods and cut down our own tree on Crown land or on land owned by the province. You need a permit. It's a free permit. And there's a specific area that we can go and cut down trees. But we could conceivably go out into the woods and cut, because there are no places here in this, what's called the Sunshine Coast, that are the you-cut tree kind of places.
No.
So we'd have to go and cut down a wild one.
Yeah, we could go up B&K and walk into the forest
That
and
could
find
be,
one.
if the B&K
it's Crown land.
B&K stands for.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
It's where Damon goes biking and.
Yeah, if that's Crown land, we could most likely go up there and just cut down our own tree, which I think would be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
I only ever cut down my own tree once, and it was in Connecticut, and it was with David Pogue and his family, and it was a nightmare.
Oh.
It was a complete disaster. Pogue and his wife got into a fight.
Oh.
Right there. It was a Christmas tree yard. So there's just row upon row.
Oh, it was not in the wild.
It wasn't in the wild. No, just row upon row. And she wanted a particular size tree and kind of tree, the needles. I don't remember what it was, Douglas fir, Scotch pine, whatever it was. And he wanted one that was smaller and a different species of tree. And in front of their children and me, they got into a fight. Like literally an argument about, like almost not yelling, but certainly I'm trying to distract the kids going, hey, look over here, kids. Look at this tree. Isn't this tree? What are you people doing getting into a fight in public over a frickin'
The kids
Christmas
actually
tree?
should choose it. Doesn't
Exactly.
matter what, even if it's a little Charlie Brown tree.
Have your 6-year-old pick a tree.
Mm-hmm.
It was very odd.
Just a tree.
And then we had a little hacksaw, and you hacksaw the tree down, dragged it out into the parking lot, and they wrapped it all up pretty for you and stuck it on top of your car, and away you went.
But see, I agree with Monty. He stopped buying real Christmas trees because, and the same with MacMan, because, I mean, even today you had texted me and said, oh, we could go cut down our own tree, and I was thinking, yeah, that'd be so great. And then I thought, I don't know if I want to go into the woods and cut down a beautiful tree that's been growing there just to kill it so we can hang baubles on it.
But it's okay to get a real tree from a yard somewhere? Or
No,
what?
I mean, why don't we there's these beautiful trees at Costco. They're elegant, sort of birch tree, white, just simple, beautiful. Fake. Yeah. And then
from a yard, like a Christmas tree farm.
Well, that's what they're farmed for.
They're farmed for that purpose.
Yeah.
So those are okay to cut down. Is that what you're saying?
I just felt like if I went into the forest, it's so beautiful up there in the forest, and we would be harming. We would go in and cut it down and drag it out. I don't know how I'd feel about that.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but it's in my mind, it's free versus $85.
Well, I'm not paying $85 for a Christmas tree
If you
again.
said last year, and guess what we paid for a Christmas tree last year?
I'm not doing that again.
$85.
That's ridiculous.
I know, but the problem is, my wonderful, sweet, kind, gentle wife goes to, was it Crazy Mike's that we went to last year? Some guy named Crazy Mike's. It's like a beautiful space. Trees already cut down. Whole different bunch of, probably 5-6 different varieties of Christmas trees, different prices, different sizes, and there was one there with $50. Lovely little tree, about 4.5 feet tall. Melissa didn't want the 4.5 foot tall tree because once we started kept walking around, you fell in love with a 7 foot tall tree.
I did.
That's what's going to happen if we go to Crazy Mike's again.
Well, no.
Unless you let me go to Crazy Mike's on my own.
No, I think we should go. And Crazy Mike's has, they have, mulled wine and Christmas music. It's kind of a nice thing to do.
It is. It is.
But I'm willing to get a small tree.
But from Crazy Mike's, not from the Crown
From the
Land.
forest? I'll see if the boys want to go do it. I suppose we could go do it.
Because to me, it may be overly romanticizing it that we hot chocolate and coffee and sandwiches and go for a trudge in the woods and if we're lucky there'd be a little bit of snow. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
It could be, or just go to Crazy Mike's and grab a tree and they'll put it on top of the car.
Yeah.
They'll strap it down for us.
Yeah.
Drive it home.
We'll have a family meeting about it.
What would you prefer? Money being no object, what kind of tree would you prefer?
I would prefer a real tree, beautiful tree in a pot that you can plant. Go out and you plant it. And it continues to live.
But that means that the next year you get to pull it up out of the...
No, you go buy another one in a pot. We're talking about that we're rich here.
Yeah, but then in 6 years you got a yard full of Christmas trees.
You go plant it in the forest.
Oh! I thought you meant planted in the front yard.
God, there's no sun coming in this house. It's all those Christmas trees we've planted over the last 20 years. The pipes are busted. The tree roots have busted the pipes.
Oh, seriously, I thought you meant planted.
We don't have it. No. In the forest.
And I was thinking, what are people in apartments? They can't plant it anywhere.
They keep putting them out on the deck.
See, I don't have that romantic notion of ripping the tree out of the ground in the forest kind of problem.
I read a story a few years ago that they had done research and found that if there was a main tree, that if there were trees that had come off of that tree via the seeds from that tree, that those ones, the main tree gave those trees the nutrients and the water and all that, and that the other trees that were growing around them, they didn't.
That's not how trees work.
How do trees work?
In fairyland, it might be how they work. But
Anyway, I'm just saying I read an article on that.
Where, on Facebook?
No, it wasn't on Facebook. No, I love the one at Costco. I love that elegant-looking birch. And we don't live in a big house, right? It would just look really beautiful.
The problem with it, A, for me, it's fake. And B, it's birch. And C, it's $65 just to get to Costco. Again, we have to catch a ferry and back at $65 ferry ride. And then the tree's $150.
Oh, yeah.
So we're looking at $210, not including gas, include that.
Oh, yeah.
You're looking at $230
Yeah.
just to get the tree. But now, granted, what that means is that we'd have a tree every year.
Every year we go, let's bring out our tree. Yeah.
So I haven't decided yet what we want to do.
All right.
I prefer real. I definitely
I know
prefer
you
real.
do. Well,
Always have.
let's go to Crazy Mike's and have a look.
Okay.
Well, Monty's getting his ready to. It's in the middle of the dining room table covered with lights and decorations and stuff.
I think a little tiny fake one that just fits on top of the ottoman would be okay too.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I agree.
I don't need a 6 foot tall tree.
No,
anymore.
we're not going to this year, especially since last year's fell over.
Folks, later on the show, we're going to talk to after this break, we're going to talk to a good friend, Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. We're going to talk about Apple TV, Apple TV Plus, Apple News Plus, electric cars, and a bunch of other stuff. All that and much more coming up. This is your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining me here this Wednesday evening. Merry beginning of the Christmas season to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. How you doing, Jim?
I'm doing good, Shawn. How are you?
I'm good. Have you started any decorating or buying or any holiday activities yet, or are you one of those ones that put it off at the last minute?
Well, I'll tell you, in years past when I was in Nova Scotia, my father and I used to go shopping on Christmas Eve morning. I'm serious. Yeah.
Scotia Square Mall, right?
Yeah, we'd go shopping on Christmas Eve morning. That's when we would get all our stuff done. So,
well, the good thing about that, and speaking of experience, I've had the same experience. It's more efficient because you just grab the first goddamn thing you find.
Well, yeah, the thing is, they're sold out of most stuff.
That's right,
so
exactly.
You know,
your options are limited too.
The options are limited, and you pick what's there. I mean,
right.
it could be a Thanksgiving Day card, or it could be something. You never know.
And you always go to the gas station for backup.
Oh yeah, I've done that.
Yep.
Get some good fridge magnets and stuff. Yeah.
That's right. So, as you and I talked about this 2 weeks ago, Apple had this what Apple called a special event, and it's partially the hype about this is Apple's own damn fault for calling attention to it that way. But like we knew, they weren't going to announce any new products. They said they were going to be for apps, so we knew kind of what it was going to be. So they announced it they did it. It was a press event where select press went to this Apple apartment type thing that they have in New York City, and Apple just, feted them, wined and dined them and whatever. No big deal. Companies do this all the time. If you've ever been to a CES, this happens in every second hotel room, in every hotel in CES. It's not that big a deal. It happened at Macworld Expos all the time. This is not something to get excited about. The funniest thing for me, and by the way, I will say congratulations to the folks at Spectre who won the App of the Year award. I've been a fan of Spectre since the day they announced it. The same folks who do Halid, one of my favorite camera apps. Spectre's a really cool app. Go to the App Store and do a search for Spectre and download it. It's like a couple of bucks. Pay for it, you cheap bastards. But they also announced the first annual Apple Music Awards, and when they announced the list, my first thought was, "Who the hell is Billie Eilish?"
Yeah.
Who
Well,
the,
and it was funny, because who was it? One of the late night hosts asked Billie Eilish, I guess, or is that her name, or I don't know. Asked her who Van Halen was, and she had no idea. And people of her age were saying, "Yeah, well, I don't know who Van Halen is either."
I have no problem with
Um,
that.
but people that like Van Halen
Yeah.
said, "Well, I have no idea who Billie Eilish is." And I think it takes, like, if you talk to me about some old bands in the 60s and 70s and sometimes even the 50s, um, I know who they are.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the old blues guys, and some of the jazz female and male
Yep.
singers, and you know but that's music for me. And I'll be honest, I was kind of surprised that um, some of these people didn't recognize the names on both sides.
Yeah.
That if you're that into music, where you're a superstar in music, wouldn't you know your history of music, like where things came from?
Well, yeah,
um
but hang on. I would expect her to know who her influences were. Her musical style is nothing like Van Halen. I'm assuming because I've never heard her, so I have no
yeah.
clue if she's a rock artist or a pop artist or a rapper. I don't know who she is.
I'm not ditching her for not knowing Van Halen.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that as a music lover myself, I know a lot of bands that I don't necessarily like,
yeah,
but I know of them. You know, so maybe it's different these days. Maybe that musicians don't feel the need to understand the history of you know where that the blues was the start of everything,
yeah, yeah. That's right.
in rock and bop.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it is. But if that was my job and not just my hobby, I'd be all over that. I'd want to know everything.
Yeah, it's
So
interesting. I don't know that it's that I would give her as much flack as what some others would be doing, because the same thing could be said of people who like rock and roll, and you ask them who Robert Johnson is, and they don't know who Robert Johnson is.
right, yeah, no, that's all true. And I think the best post that I saw from it came from Wolfgang Van Halen,
Yeah.
Eddie's son,
Yep.
and he said, if you don't know who Billie Eilish is, go check her out.
Yeah.
She's great. And if you don't know who Van Halen is, go check them out. They're great too.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, and I agree with that. I agree with that 100%.
But
But I'm just surprised as a musician that she wasn't more informed.
that being said, and I'll be the first one to admit, when I heard Billie Eilish was the winner of this global Billie Eilish takes top honor Global Artist of the Year, and this is not a knock on Billie. I think it's more of a knock on me. I literally have no clue who she is, and possibly even worse, I didn't bother to go find out who she was. I didn't care.
Well,
I have no interest in her music or what I perceive to be her music. I think that's a bad thing. I think that is officially me getting old.
well, yeah, it's a worse thing for you than it is for her.
It's right.
Because she's not sitting in her house right now saying, "Oh shit,
Damn it!
Sean King doesn't know who I am. What am I gonna do? I
Damn
might as well
it!
just quit."
My career is over.
Over. I mean, but uh, we're in a different type of thing now. I
Yep.
mean, her music is not my thing, but she's very popular
Yep.
and obviously very successful. So, um, good for her for winning,
Yep.
but I wish that they had a category for us old timers.
Yeah, that's true too. But it's one of those things that if they had done that, then they would have gotten flack for not having enough categories, and there was no classical category, and no this, and this, and I understand why they limited it, but I think it's more a testament to my lack of interest in new music than it is Apple's lack of interest in promoting
Well,
different styles of music.
I wouldn't go that far. That it's your lack of interest in new music. I have a great deal of interest in new music. I don't have a great deal of interest in pop.
Yeah.
So, I think to me that's the bigger thing.
Yeah.
Apple is definitely focused on the pop market.
Yes.
And I mean, you can't blame them. That's where the money is. That's where people are buying the stuff. But I have tremendous interest in new hard rock and that stuff that's coming out. But that market seems to have been, forgotten. Not by Apple, but forgotten by a lot of people.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's always interesting to see how I love as much as I hate the BuzzFeed list type thing. I love end of year and now end of decade list, best of music, best of movies. But I've seen myself just sort of gloss over any sort of best of music list, any sort of best music, best songs, best LPs of the past year or past decade, because oddly enough, my interest in new music has completely atrophied. And I'm not sure why. I still listen to music, but I don't listen to new music anymore. I'm still listening to the stuff I listened to in high school and in college. The Police, The Clash, Prince, that kind of stuff. That was my music. And unfortunately, I think to my detriment, I'm not experimenting or learning about new music anymore.
So Apple Music put out these replay lists, like
yes.
your top songs from 2015 and up, whenever you started Apple Music. So I downloaded all my lists and realized that they were all the same.
Same song on repeat for the last year. Yeah. Oops.
Yeah. I mean, there's 100 songs in there or something like that.
Yeah.
They're all basically the same every year. Now, right. I will say that in 2016, I did have probably the biggest change from 15 to 16, because I was listening to a lot of Apple, the radio stations. Not Apple Music Radio, but the radio stations that they have for different genres of music. And I would like songs that I heard on there, and then subsequently put them in playlists or whatever. So I was listening to them a lot. But yeah, that's I guess I shouldn't have been surprised, but I felt old when I did that. Download 4 years worth of music and they're all the same.
I wonder how much, and this might be a bit of a stretch, I wonder how much you are the perfect age, and you had children of the perfect age group, where you would have learned a lot, correct me if I'm wrong, learned about a lot of new music from your kids, listening to their music. Your son playing his LPs. I know he was a big LP fan. Your daughter playing whatever music she plays. But parents nowadays, because kids are using headphones and earpods and AirPods, don't hear their children's music, so they don't get exposed to their children's music. I wonder if that's a true theory of mine. You think it makes sense?
It makes sense, but I know that I learned a lot from my kids from music. I mean, I took my son up as far as Metallica, and then he took over from there, and he just went way off. And in the music that he really likes, and some of it he showed me, and it's really good. I mean, my daughter was the first one that got me to listen to Brett Dennen, who's a singer-songwriter, just a fabulous artist. And I love that. I love that my kids are able to teach me about music, because music was always very important in our house. I mean, and I would test them too. I would test them, and boy, you better not get it wrong. I mean, this is classic stuff. but it's also funny that I turn on like Sirius XM, or I turn on classic rock on Apple Music, or whatever, and Judas Priest and Iron Maiden are on there as classic rock. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
when I was a kid, that was the heaviest stuff that you could possibly listen to,
Yeah.
was Judas Priest and Iron Maiden. I mean, parents thought that
That was
you were
devil music.
conjuring up the
That's
devil
right.
at
That's
that
right.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it was different.
Speaking of conjuring up the devil, it seems like Apple is trying to resurrect. You see what it did there? Apple News
I saw that.
Plus. Yeah, it was pretty good. Apple News Plus. Do you still use Apple News Plus? Are you still subscribed to it? Do you still read
Uh,
it?
I'm still subscribed to it. I actually read more of just Apple News than I
Yeah.
do Apple News Plus.
They're trying to get people. There's the rumor that we heard last week that Apple might bundle it at some point in the new year. The other rumor was that they haven't expanded their subscriber base beyond the initial about 200,000 people, which is for Apple with 100 million potential subscribers. That's nothing. That's pennies. Part of it is the fact that it's fairly expensive compared to other offerings from Apple. But I found Apple News Plus just so unconfigurable that I lost interest in the news aspect of it. And then when it came to the magazines themselves, the magazines were so torturous to go through. I lost interest in reading the articles on Apple News Plus when I could just go to the magazine's website and listen and read them there. What are your thoughts
Yeah.
6 months on about Apple News Plus?
Well, I definitely agree that I think that there has to be a lot of changes in Apple News Plus, and
Yep.
looking back, I know that this is hindsight, and we never mentioned it at the time, but I'm kind of surprised now looking back that there weren't some bigger changes in iOS 13, or some mention at WDC, like, here's what we're doing to
Yep.
improve this. I mean, there doesn't seem to be any improvement at all.
That's right. That's right.
So that, again, hindsight is great, but I'm just a little surprised that that wasn't one of the line items in there. And maybe it was early on, and other things just took precedent. But yeah, I'm not using it as much as what I would have thought I would be.
Yeah, yeah. I find the lack of customization, the choices that Apple makes for me, very annoying. I mean, I don't want to see Cult of Mac in my Apple News feed. I know they're a bunch of idiots, so don't show it to me. And yet, I will see articles from Business Insider and other venues that I personally don't like and don't want. And there's no way for me to pick and choose like an RSS feed. That's what Apple News Plus should, at least part of it should be. Let me put my own RSS feed into Apple News Plus and read it that way. It should be a RSS reader along with these other things. That way I can tailor the news to what I want. But then just the magazines. The magazines are awful a lot. About half of them that I'm interested in anyway have an awful interface. It's Apple hasn't forced the publishers to customize, so the getting around each magazine is different, and you got to figure it out. On one magazine, it might be a swipe left, it might be a swipe right, swipe up, swipe down, double tap, or whatever. And I just don't have the interest. There's not enough there for me to work at it. And you want me to pay you here in Canada $13 a week a month for the privilege? No thanks.
Yeah, I get all that. I mean, I have no argument against what you're saying, and I don't know that there's any more that you could say other than what you did. And it's just it's kind of like, if the interface was better and it worked better, then you might respond better even with some of the other failures.
Yep.
But with the interface being bad, and it's not that it's not attractive. It is a pretty interface.
Yes.
It just doesn't do a whole lot.
That's right. That's right.
But this is typical of Apple too, that they'll they'll put out something that's very simple and build on it
Yep.
and build on it. And as I said, looking back, I'm kind of surprised that they didn't do that. But
Agreed. Let's move on to Apple TV Plus. The show that I think you and I were looking forward to 2 weeks ago, Servant, made it to 3 episodes, released last week. You tweeted yesterday or the day before how much you liked it. Was it what you expected?
I don't know what I expected. I just knew it was going to be creepy, and it's creepier than I thought it would be.
But for me, it's creepier in a different way. I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but there's
Yeah.
a twist in it that you didn't expect to see coming from the trailers that we saw. There's a wonderful twist in
Right.
it where you go, whoa, wait, what? Huh? You know, and you're
Yep.
looking at your TV going, but if that's true, then what kind of stuff?
Yep.
And it started off really. I love the creepy factor of it. My problem is I think part of it is the actors themselves. You don't care about them. The wife is obviously bananas. The husband's just a jerk. The brother is sleazy and creepy, and the nanny is just weird. You know, so there's no one you can hang your hat on and cheer for.
Oh
the
no,
show.
there is no cheering for anybody in this show.
Exactly.
I mean, you're just sitting there looking at the TV going, "Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
Exactly.
Did that just happen?" And for those that haven't watched it yet but may remember, the girl, the wife in this was the daughter in 6 Feet Under.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't see that show.
Oh, it was a great show. But yeah, she was even kind of weird there. She used to they were the show was called 6 Feet Under,
Yeah.
but that's where
You mean the nanny?
that's where
the nanny or the wife?
the wife.
The wife. Okay. All right.
That's where Dexter came from.
Yes.
Dexter was in that show as well.
Yeah.
But it was a great show. I love that show.
I tweeted to someone who asked me about it that if you like M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong, you'll like this. It's a slow boil, creepy. There's no gore. There's no jump scares. Nothing like that. It's just unsettling in a number of different ways.
Yeah.
And it just slowly moves along. And Melissa, my wife, had the best line after we watched all 3 episodes. And she said, I don't know where this show is going. And she meant that as a compliment. You know, that's a good thing that you want to find out where the show is going. Even if you don't necessarily care a great deal about the actual characters, you want to find out where the hell is this weirdness, strangeness, creepiness going to go.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I think it's probably the best show on Apple TV.
Really?
I really do think so.
Oh.
I mean, I'm all caught up now. I haven't started C,
Yep.
and I haven't started Dickinson. I'm still only 1 episode into For All Mankind.
Oh, really? Just one?
But I'm caught up to date on The Morning Show, and I'm up to date on Shamalama Ding Dong.
That's right.
Servant.
Now,
you know,
now the other thing,
I mean,
the other
poof.
thing I posted up on the Loop, loopinsight.com. Do you prefer shows to come out episodically once a week, or would you prefer the binge? Give me all 10 episodes, all 15 episodes all at once. I can watch all at once. Which do you prefer?
Well, you know what? Jack Ryan came out.
Yep.
And within 2 days, 3 days, I had watched all the episodes.
All 15, yeah.
And then you're kind of like, oh, damn, it's over. You know,
Yep.
maybe I shouldn't watch 3 episodes tonight because
That's right.
then I'll stretch it out a bit more, you know?
Yeah.
So, but the way that Apple's doing some of these, I mean, at least they gave us 3 of Servant.
Yep.
And all 3 were watched. That was, I mean, all at once. Just sit down and.
Well, they're only a half hour long too, so.
Well, yeah, there's that. It's not a very long show,
No.
but still, it's good. It's good. I really like it. But
What?
see, when it comes to movies or something, the first genre I go to is thriller.
Yeah, yeah,
I like thrillers. I don't like
yeah.
horrors.
Me
There's
neither.
no I have no need for the gore
Yep.
and the scaring and but thrillers like psychological
Yep.
thrillers or something like that. Oh boy, I love those
Yeah, that's why
because
I've always been such a big, huge fan of Alfred Hitchcock. I mean, he was the
yeah,
original suspense thriller kind of guy.
yeah, and there's nothing like suspense to really hold your
Yeah.
attention in a movie. So that's what I like.
I personally like the episodic thing. I think I especially like the way Apple's doing it. They drop 3 episodes to get you hooked into it, and then they do it once a week because then I think it builds anticipation towards the show. It also allows you to have this kind of conversation with the show. So
Yeah,
I know that you've seen all the episodes. I've seen all the episodes, so we can talk about everything that we know about the show. You know, we're a couple of people sitting around at the office or on the bus talking this kind of stuff. Whereas when they drop all episodes all at once, I got to find out where you are in the series. Are you in episode 7? Are you episode 4? Where are you? Kind of thing. And then if I'm ahead of you or behind you, we can't talk about it. So I prefer the
right.
once a week episodic kind of thing. I'm glad they didn't drop all the Mandalorian all at once because I love all this conversation people are having about the Mandalorian. I love the fact that they've building this either intentionally or by accident, building up this momentum to what's happening in that particular show too.
Yeah.
So the thing that cracks me up is though, have you heard the story about how supposedly Disney wasn't ready, didn't realize how cute Baby Yoda, or as I call him, Boda, was going to be, and they have no Christmas buying season. They have no merchandise for Boda.
Oh
That's insane.
no.
How many millions and millions and tens of millions of dollars has Disney left on the table because some marketing weenie said, "Nah, we don't need Baby Yoda stuff."
Now I saw a picture of uh, Baby Yoda. I didn't even see uh, Baby Yoda, moving or anything. I just saw a picture on the internet, and even I thought it was cute as hell. I just thought, oh my god, that's so great. You know.
It turns out the actual story is the director John Favreau didn't want to have any Boda material out there because it would have ruined that one scene in the show
Makes
at the
sense.
very beginning of it. Because even if they had put stuff in a warehouse, some manufacturer, it would have leaked at some point. So now they're scrambling. They had to make that decision between having stuff ready but having that story leak and not having anything ready and being able to keep all that wonderful suspense. But yeah, someone at Disney is kicking themselves for saying, "I wish we had Baby Yoda plush toys because they would
Uh,
sell a billion of those damn things."
they're still gonna sell.
They are, but Christmas buying season. This is it. This is the best time for them to get that stuff out there.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, there's that, but they'll still have it out. Personally, I like that they saved the story.
Yes, me too. Me too. Because we all went, "Oh," when we first saw
Yeah.
that little guy. And now it's just hilarious. I find the show to be just okay. I like it because my son likes it. I like that he gets interested in it. But I don't find the show that well put together. I'll still watch it because it's Star Wars and it's kind of interesting. But the Baby Yoda stuff just kills me. The Mandalorian could die tomorrow, and I'll watch this Baby Yoda.
Well,
I'm all over Boda.
I have no idea what you're even talking about. So because I don't I it took me until my son was probably 10 and what the first episode 1 of Star Wars
Yeah,
came out.
yeah,
That's when I watched the original Star
yeah.
Wars. I hadn't seen it till then.
Well,
So,
let's talk about something you do know about. A little birdie told me that you recently purchased a new vehicle. Now you're in California, beautiful, hopefully warm, sunny California, but you didn't buy an electric vehicle. They're back in the news again with the Cybertruck from Tesla. Did you think about buying electric? Was that ever in your buying plans, or are you against electric? Why didn't you buy an electric vehicle?
so here's God. I don't know. The more I look at electric vehicles, I think, yeah, but I know that with a gas powered vehicle, I can drive wherever I want and get gas and keep driving.
Yeah.
And I still don't, maybe it's just stupidity on my part, but I still don't feel that way about um, electric cars. I mean,
You have range anxiety.
but yeah, yeah, I guess that's probably
Yeah.
exactly the right way to put it. I really do. Um, if I'm gonna go to, LA and it's what 450 miles or something
Yeah.
from here, and the car is only it can only do 300 miles.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of empty space between here and LA, you know? Um, so what do I do? I mean, are there I don't know if there's charging. I
Yeah.
mean, do I bring like an extension cord with me and ask somebody at their house to plug it in? I don't it's the anxiety of that I don't know.
There's a program here in British Columbia trying to get people to get into electrics, and they say that range anxiety isn't a thing. That there's all kinds of superchargers all over the place. There are all kinds of places where you can plug in, and they seem to think that's good enough. Except they ignore the fact that if my vehicle has a 400-mile range, whether it be gas or electricity, at 300 miles, I start looking for the thing, electricity or gas, to fill up. So
Right.
at 325 miles, I see a gas station. I pull in, I fill up full of gas, I leave. That takes maybe 5 minutes. But
Yes.
in an electric vehicle, I pull in, I sit there for 2.5 hours, 3 hours, depending on the charging, and then I go again. It's not range anxiety, it's waste of time anxiety.
Well, yeah, I never really considered that, but yeah, if you have to charge, you actually have to charge.
And then I've got to, before I leave the house, plan my route around the superchargers. I can't go in that direction because the supercharger is nowhere near, so I got to go down that road. I'm forced to go this route because that's where the most superchargers are, and I don't want to go
Yeah.
over the mountains because that uses up more electricity. I don't want to bother with all that kind of stuff.
No.
Uh,
And by the time fossil fuels ruin the earth, I'll be gone. So
Mac, Macman says, one of my friend's wife has a Tesla we took to the Grand Canyon. We had to stop twice at a supercharger, which added about 2+ hours to the trip. A supercharger takes about an hour to charge theirs. Yeah, that's correct. It depends on
yeah.
how you use your vehicle. As Macman says, for driving around Phoenix, it's awesome. Yeah, if you're just driving around town, electric is
Right.
great.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And if you're going on the quarter mile, then the Tesla will beat anything on the planet.
Yeah, that's right.
It's great. It's great for that.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could stop and know that no matter where I was, I mean, if I drive from here to LA, I know that I can almost make it in a tank of gas. And you get into some areas where there is absolutely nothing. So if I feel that just better safe than sorry if I hit a traffic jam or an accident on the road,
Yeah.
and I'm around a quarter of a tank, I'll just pull over and stop, fill it up,
Yeah.
and be done. So my father always told me, once it hits a quarter of a tank, start looking for a gas
Yep.
station.
Same with me. Same with me.
So but you can't really do that. And I guess that's where my anxiety comes from. And I still think now, if I went out to buy a car, um, I wouldn't look at an electric car.
See, for us here on the coast, we've been looking at it seriously because Melissa, who's the primary driver of the vehicle, I take the motorcycle. We've only got one road. Like literally, we've got one road up and down the coast. And so we can only go maximum 75 kilometers, about 50 miles before we have to get on a ferry. So there's no range anxiety for us. She drives up and down the coast going to the various schools here. There wouldn't be any problem with her taking the car for the whole day and it lasting long enough till she gets home and plugs it in. Not a problem. But
well, let's be honest. Canada only has one road, so
that's right, Trans-Canada. That's right, exactly. But if you were my friend Vito, who drove down from Prince George to come to visit friends and family in Vancouver, he had to plan his route around the superchargers for his Tesla. He could not say to his wife, "Hey, let's go down this road." Like when we're on the motorcycle, I'm exploring all over the place. I'm good. Hey, I wonder what's down this road, and I go off that road. It might be 100 miles of bad road that we come out somewhere in Kelowna, but there's a gas station in Kelowna. I don't got to worry about it. So that's I don't have range anxiety per se, but it's just I don't want to have to work that hard to explore.
I didn't realize that the mob used Teslas now.
Well,
hey, Fido.
He is Italian.
Fido, what are you doing with that electric car? Come on.
He is Italian, so
well,
who knows?
I didn't realize. Well, that's good. That's good to know. So now you can outrun the mob.
That's right, exactly.
Just go a place where there's no superchargers.
I think there's no doubt that electrics are the future. Whether they will be the majority of cars in my lifetime, I don't think so. I think in certain places they will be. But I mean, the Cybertruck that Tesla just announced, did you watch even part of that Elon Musk demo?
I did.
He's awful. He cannot speak in public.
I did. I watched it when he broke the windows.
He was painful to listen to.
Yeah, well.
I felt bad for him because he just is an awful, awful public speaker. The whole demonstration with the glass thing, I felt bad for him because we've all had demos that go south. But that truck, we talked about this before. I said that someone tweeted that this was the truck for Tesla fans, not a Tesla for truck fans. I don't think this is going to be the replacement for the Ford F-150. I don't think Chevy's got anything to worry about for any number of reasons. But it is definitely going to be the future of vehicles. But I don't think it's going to be the future, certainly in my lifetime.
No, I would have to agree with you. I mean, there's a lot that can happen between now and the time that electric vehicles are the future. I mean, maybe they'll have a cell that just lasts for thousands of miles. And God knows what they'll have. But
true.
20 years ago, we would never have thought that electric vehicles would be as popular as they are, especially in like California and places like that. But when you start looking at what could happen in the next 20, oh God, maybe fuels will be gone altogether.
Well, the other thing I'm interested in with Vito, he's sort of my test monkey for this stuff. He's got a Series 3 Tesla. Is he knows that his range is going to be severely compromised because he lives in Canada. He lives in a very, very cold part of Canada, and his batteries won't give him nearly the range once winter fully hits up there in Prince George. That's a concern. We've got a whole country where that's going to be a concern, where electrics don't work as well for 6 months out of the year.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing that you can't rely on your vehicle for 6 months out of the year, because here in Canada, if your vehicle breaks down in the winter, you could die. You literally could die frozen.
That's very true. That's very true.
It's not a joke. This is something that every Canadian learns and is warned about. Make sure you get all your supplies and people know where you're going, and you check the weather and you got full gas, all that kind of stuff, because literally you could be stuck on the side of the road with no traffic, because even though it's Trans-Canada, there's one car every 4 hours. You could die on the side of the road.
And people have fallen asleep. A snowplow has gone by, not noticed them because there was some snow on the car.
Yep.
Plowed them in.
That's right. It's happening.
And they die.
Yeah.
I mean, they just die.
That's right. MacMan points out Teslas have battery heaters. Okay, I'll have to ask Vito about that, because that would help that issue. Folks, I've been talking to Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. His podcast is up on the iTunes store. It's called The Dalrymple Report. Check it out with him and Dave Mark. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Shawn.
Talk to you later, buddy.
Bye.
See ya. Don't forget, we want your Christmas greetings. Send them off to me, Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. Want to just your name, your location, your Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, whatever it is you want to say to the audience, to your family, be internet famous in a very, very tiny kind of way. We'll play those on the December 18th show. So in 2 more shows, so you got 2 weeks to just record a little video on your iPhone. Send them off to me, Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. We'll have much more coming up a little later on in the show. This is Your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining us here this Wednesday evening. Send us emails, as always, to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. You want to talk about anything we've talked about here on the show, electric cars or Apple Music or Apple News or Apple TV Plus or wherever. You forgot your laptop, didn't you?
Sorry.
Melissa has come back. We were talking about with Jim about the Servant TV show. What were your thoughts about the creepy servant show?
Oh, I'm intrigued.
I said that one of the things that you said that I thought was really interesting was that you said at the end of the 3rd episode, you went, I have no idea where this show was going. And that was a good thing. It was a compliment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But we also agreed that we just don't like the characters.
Oh, I can't stand the husband.
Yeah.
The brother is horrible.
Yeah.
The wife is barely tolerable, but she's, I'm sort of endeared to her a little bit,
Yeah.
but I don't like their relationship. Their house is very kind of, it's almost creepy, yet
The house is gloomy.
it's gloomy and
Yeah.
dark, and I feel, I watch it and think, oh, these people, yeah. So I don't like them. I don't even really like the servant. I don't know why. Anyway, I'm intrigued, and I would like to continue watching it.
Isn't that interesting that there's not anything we like about the people in the show, but you still want to see where the show is going to go?
Yes, I have questions because
Yeah.
I want to know where the baby came from.
Whereas with C, we don't like any of them either. We don't give a shit where it's going.
Oh, yeah. That's done.
just
meh.
no. Just Dickinson. I like the characters, but it's that coming of
bit-
age thing.
Yeah,
and
no.
I had no interest in it.
Well, and I didn't really read Emily Dickinson as a girl, so
You're more of a Jane Austen type?
Very much.
Were you?
Yes.
I
Read
know.
my Jane Austen books all the time. I've
Right.
read them all many, many times.
Is there any good Jane Austen movie?
The series with Colin Firth was exceptional.
Obviously a British series, probably. Right?
Yes, he was Mr. Darcy. Was Pride and Prejudice.
What's Pride and Prejudice about?
It's sort of a love story in a very Austenish way. And she has, obviously, you realize through the novel that she is withholding through pride, and he is withholding because he has prejudice. So, or it could be even the other way around. Anyway, it's just a brilliant story. Really is.
Good. Now, MacMan says, careful with spoilers. Yes, I'll be careful with spoilers.
Oh.
Although, I'm not giving... we can do spoilers of Pride and Prejudice. Okay? I'm just...
Oh. Yeah.
If it's 200 years old, we can do spoilers.
Yeah, no, it's been done and done and done over and over again.
I know he wasn't talking about that. Dave D was asking about, I mentioned electric bicycles. Yes, we've been looking at possibility of an electric bicycle for me. I like the idea of biking, but I'm just literally in no shape physically or my knees to actually bike up any kind of level of a hill. But Melissa loves to bike too, and I'd love to be able to go biking with her. But because of where we live, there's not hills, but there's incline, shall we say, that I know I couldn't get up very easily. Whereas when I read about electric bikes, it's not just turn it on and sit there like it's an electric motorcycle. You're still working. You choose the level of work that you do, or you set it so that when it notices you're really pushing, it kicks in. And they have a throttle on them too. So you can also get it to help you a little bit that way. But they're so expensive.
They are.
I think the cheapest one I've seen is $3,000. That's a lot of money for a bicycle. Anyway. So, have you decided? Do you want to do I Have a Question with Melissa?
Oh, that's okay.
You sure?
Yeah.
Because we can. She's just uncertain about whether or not she can ask the question. No? Okay.
No, I'm so sorry. I've gone into Wikipedia because I just pressed on the link that I think Monty sent for his favorite Pride and Prejudice. I'm sorry, I don't know who sent that. You go into Wikipedia and it says, we ask you humbly to help. Hi, reader in Canada. It seems you use Wikipedia a lot. That's great. It's a little awkward to ask, but this Wednesday we need your help.
No.
Do you know about this?
Yes.
Oh, and
That
so
happens all the time with Wikipedia.
okay. Okay, so I can't get into that. I was just wondering which Pride and Prejudice was.
You can get into it. You can.
Oh, it was Dave. It was Dave.
You can click on the X and that will go away. Go back to the page.
I am on the page. Oh, close.
Yeah. See if I get it. No. So here's I have a question. You're like, how did they know
How did they know?
that you're in Canada?
I think they asked me if I was. Yeah.
Because I got it too. Hi, reader in Canada. Seems you use Wikipedia a lot. That's great. How do they know?
Well, the thing is, I don't use Wikipedia a lot. So I think it's just a blanket thing.
It could be a blanket thing, trying to guilt you into it. But Wikipedia, like a lot of websites, I'd probably say every website,
Yeah, the tracking.
uses cookies and uses tracking. And what a cookie is, it's a little data file that when you go to a website, it puts onto your computer that website will then refer to, and it will know, oh, the last time she was on this site was this past Tuesday. It was Amazon. And she looked at this, and this. Tracking is good and bad. Basically, if it pisses you off, it's bad. If it helps you, it's good. In this case, Wikipedia might just be doing it blanket.
Yeah.
But they said, hi, reader in Canada. What that means is that they've seen the IP address that you use, because every internet device has an internet protocol address. It's like a physical mailbox. And the only way you can get around the internet is by having an IP address. If you don't have an IP address, you can't get on the internet. So that IP address is linked to certain physical locations. Certain companies. And so for us, it would be TELUS. And TELUS sends those everyone in the world can find out what IP addresses TELUS sends out to its customers. And they'll know this number is for this location.
Right.
And you can also, with an IP address, if I know your IP address, I can find out pretty close where you are, the neighborhood of where you are. I can't pinpoint it maybe to your exact house. Some you can, but most of the times you can't. But I know you're in Gibson's. If I know your IP address, and it's not the IP address of your computer, by the way, it's the IP address of our router. Because our router is our connection to the outside world, and our router gives us our IP address. Doesn't give the outside world your physical IP address.
Okay.
So the router has an IP address that it broadcasts to the world. I'm here. Send me the information my user wants me to know. So that's probably how they know you're in Canada, was because of the IP address that it sent to the website when you clicked in. Which is why we were talking about this before. There was this big stink a few days ago where Apple changed. There's a fight between Russia and Ukraine, and Russia has illegally annexed an area of the Ukraine called Crimea, and Apple has been forced by the Russian government to any computer inside Russia has to show Crimea as part of Russian territory. They don't do that outside of Russia, and they know that from the IP addresses. So any device that connects to Apple's products with an IP address that's located in the state of Russia, the country of Russia, has to show, Apple has to show them a different map than they would show if you were in England or other places. And it's a weird situation. One of the Garry Kasparov, the noted chess master, now sort of a bon vivant of international affairs, had a really interesting comment. Hopefully I can find this while I'm talking about it. He said, oh, come on. He said, Apple changing its maps inside Russia to make Crimea part of Russia is a huge scandal. Regionalization of facts is unacceptable appeasement. I love that line. Regionalization of facts. Facts are supposed to be the same everywhere. In this case, a fact that most of the world acknowledges isn't true inside of Russia, and that's a problem. If that starts happening more and more,
you can't do that. I'm surprised Apple abides by it.
It's tough.
It's disturbing to me. If they're all about security and people's privacy as well, this is also an integral. It's about integrity, and I don't know. I don't like it.
Speaking of, I had a segue there and I lost it. I read this funny thing. I have two sons from previous marriage, ages 8 and 9. I've got full custody. They were so excited about Christmas last year. There were many presents for them under the tree from the grandparents and us, and they were constantly checking them out, trying to guess what was in them. They were being kids. They were doing kid stuff. They could hardly wait for Christmas Day and begged us to let them open some presents early. So we allowed them to open one present that was gifted to both of them. It was the heaviest package into the tree, and you could feel their excitement when I told them they could open it on Christmas Eve. Were you a family that opened presents on Christmas Eve?
Might open one.
Did your mother choose, or your parents choose, or your mother choose, or did you choose?
We chose.
We were allowed to open one, but Mom chose it for us, and it was always pajamas. Like, screw off, Mom.
No, she wanted you to wake up in your Christmas pajamas. I understand
but don't
that.
tell children you can open up one present and then say it has to be that floppy present. Because we knew the floppy presents were closed. We wanted to open up the big hard box. Anyway, I could feel their excitement when I told them they could open it on Christmas Eve. They tore into it like a couple of savages. I'd wrapped it very well to make it take a little time to get the goods. As the final piece of paper was ripped off the present, the oldest child was going like, it's, and the final paper came off a brick. I thought it was hilarious. The looks in their faces was priceless. Unfortunately, they were somewhat upset. Tears were shed, etc. So we let them open one more present to calm them down. Am I an asshole for wrapping a brick as a present? Yes! You are a colossal asshole!
I just find that a very sick joke to play on young kids.
These kids are 8 and 9 years old. You can't play that kind of joke on 9-year-olds. That's cruel.
Yes, I agree.
Why would you do
How
that?
odd. Yeah.
He didn't say that, the kids were were rotten kids. They kicked the cat. They wouldn't brush
Even
their
so.
teeth. They deserve coal in their stock. He never said that. He said it seemed like these kids were lovely. So why would you play this kind of prank on 9-year-olds? That is the cruelest thing you could do. What a jerk of a
It's
father.
like us with Damon's dish rack.
No.
I should say, you with Damon's dish rack.
You want to tell the story?
Oh, I thought you posted a video of him.
Tell the story.
Oh, so Damon doing the dishes every night for months and months and months. He's like, we need a dish rack. And he's doing the dishes really fast. And we were walking around Costco, and there it was. Last Christmas. Before last Christmas, obviously. We saw this beautiful, sort of industrial, pretty cool looking dish rack. And Shawn said, oh, let's get, and in a very big box, it looked really enticing. You could tell wrapped up under the tree. It would look very like, what's that? We built him up, and he's looking at this big box, and he's like, what is it? Shawn was loving every moment.
I was.
And then, the time came, and he was so excited. He had no idea what it was, and it was a dish rack. And Shawn videoed the whole thing. And
now, in my defense, and it's a very small defense, we didn't torment him with it. We wrapped it up and put it under the tree.
Yeah, no torment.
And Damon said, what is it? It's for you. What is it? I'm not going to tell you.
Something you really wanted.
You asked for this. And that drove him nuts.
It did.
You specifically asked for it.
And he doesn't ask for much, actually. Damon's not there. And he was like, well, I don't remember asking for anything.
And so I think it was like 2 days before Christmas. This box has been driving him nuts. And I said, dude, if you want to, you can open it. Really? But should I wait? Yeah, you should wait. But if you want to open it, you go ahead and open it. Okay. And so he tried to be cool about opening it. I'm videotaping him doing this. He opens it, and when he sees it's a dish rack, he's just like
he got it. It was like, okay.
I deserve this kind of thing. You can play that joke on an adult. Damon's, at the time, 21, 22 now. You can play that on an adult. And that wasn't his only gift either.
Oh, no.
You can't play that on small children.
No.
You can't do. Now, I do remember getting a very big box for Christmas full of newspapers. Now, I had to go through the newspapers and found a little tiny toy inside. That was a little bit mean, but at least I got a toy I wanted. It was a big box, little toy. But yeah, just giving kids a brick, that's cruel. Monty says, your kids get to pick the old folks home you go to. Don't do that. He's not
Be
wrong.
kind to your kids.
MacMan, one year I took a box that the reams of paper come in, put 2 cans of paint in it, along with the portable CD player he wanted, wrapped it up, put it under the tree. He was not amused. I nearly pissed myself. Then he found the CD player, and he was happy. He was 13 at the time. See, that would have been okay.
Mm-hmm.
If Dad had put the bricks in a box that had toys in it and made the kids think it was a really heavy box, that's different. But just giving them bricks, yeah, Dad, you're an asshole. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Got an email from Warren. I've got a USB flash drive that stopped working. I used my cross-trainer exercise machine to track daily workouts. One day after the workout, when trying to save the session data to the drive, the machine reported drive error. The drive is not physically damaged, and a replacement drive works properly in the machine, so it definitely appeared to be a drive problem. When plugging it into my iMac, I'm told the drive is not readable, and asked if I want to initialize, ignore, or eject it. In this condition, is there any way to recover files to my Macintosh? I see assorted options claiming to rescue data from failed USB drives for Windows, but I see none so far for Mac. Without being able to recognize the amount of the drive's volume, is there any software device that can pull raw bytes off the drive? Now, here's the problem, kids, and the nerds in the audience will immediately go, oh. It's a 32 gig ADATA drive formatted as received from the factory, FAT32. What that means is it was formatted as a Windows drive. Whenever you get a new drive, reformat it using your Macintosh. Use disk utility, use whatever things you want. You should always reformat it. You shouldn't leave it the way the factory sent it to you. The other problem, Warren, is that USB flash drives, you say the disk isn't damaged. Obviously it is. Not physically damaged. You can't see the physical damage. Those drives, quite often, you can get a piece of fluff inside the USB part of that thing, and it can kill it. It can short out. It can do any number of things. USB flash drives are not meant for long-term storage. So what you did was you left data on there over a long period of time. You didn't back up your data. And I'm not going to make fun of you for that, but that's one of the problems. Always back up your data. He says, it has months of my workout data I would like to recover. You can't leave data on a drive for months, especially drives that are known to be a little flaky. What you got to do is you got to back that stuff up on a regular basis. Have two of these discs and swap them out so you don't lose 1 day of data. Switch them back and forth. There is some Mac stuff. You can try an app called Test Disk. There's also Data Rescue. Those are 2 apps I know of that at least claim, I've never used them, at least claim to be able to do this. So give that one of those two things a try. But that's definitely one of the issues, that you've got to have backups of your data. From Robert, I just got spam email signed from me. Is there a cure for this crap? You ever gotten this? Gotten your own email address spam?
Don't think so.
If you have, there's no cure for it. It's spam. There's no reasonable cure for spam, especially here in North America. Part of it is that, and this sounds weird, that the spam people have, believe it or not, freedom of speech. They have the right to send this to you. It's a fine reading of the law, but it is one reading of the law that's been held up in court. Because spammers don't care about the law, even anti-spam legislation that we have gets ignored. Because a lot of spam, once the Western government started to crack down on it, the spammers simply moved their devices to countries that would let them send the spam. And therefore, if you tried to arrest them in Botoslavia, the Botoslavian government says you can't arrest our citizens. You can't do anything to people who live in our country. You're in Canada, they're in Botoslavia, you can't do anything. So you're kind of screwed. What they're doing is they're spoofing the email address. A lot of email spam has got fake addresses in it. You go to send it back or respond back to them, and it bounces back to you. There's not a lot you can do about it. You have good spam filters, either on your ISP or on your actual machine. I use Spam Sieve. I have for years. It catches 95% of the spam, but even then, some spam still gets through. It's just a fact of life. It's just something you can't do a whole lot about. You got to accept that there's going to be, if you are working on preventing spam, there's still going to be some spam that gets through. Could someone point me, this is from Bob Talich. Bob, could someone point me towards an app or methodology to determine what apps on my iMac are 32-bit and therefore need to be upgraded or deleted before upgrade to Catalina? There's an app called Go64 that will go through all the apps on your drive and tell you which ones are 32-bit, which ones are 64. But an easier way is simply to go to the upper left-hand corner. Melissa, do this with me. Make sure I'm doing it right. Upper left-hand corner, click on the Apple logo. Go down to About This Mac. Then click on System Report. Now, what this is a reading of everything on your Mac. Now, a lot of this is geek gobbledygook, so you can pretty much ignore it. Go down to, where is it? Oh, shoot. Have they moved it? Software.
Where in software?
First, applications.
Mm-hmm.
It will then grab a list of all the applications on your machine. If you look in the lower right-hand corner of that window, you'll probably see a little spinny thing. So we'll wait for the little spinny thing to stop. And then what you can do is this will tell you which of your apps are what's called 32-bit and which apps are 64-bit. Doesn't matter what that means, except for the fact that the 32-bit apps will stop working if you upgrade to Catalina, if you upgrade to the latest version of Apple's operating system. That may or may not be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on those apps. I've got an app I use every Wednesday called Levelator. It noise gates the highs and lows of the volume between Melissa's voice and mine. It's a 32-bit app. It won't work in Catalina. It's only one of several apps that do that. That I have that are 32-bit. So I haven't upgraded to Catalina. Part of the reason why I haven't upgraded to Catalina is there's just nothing in there that I really, really want. Has the list popped up for you yet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. See where it says 64-bit Intel
Mhm.
in the upper right? Click on that. And it will now take all those apps and put them into a yes or no category.
Mm-hmm.
So all the ones that say no, those are all apps that if you upgrade your machine to Catalina, will not work anymore. So you go through the list and you see, is there anything important there for me? Is there anything that, oh shit, if that didn't work, I can't do my work. It's Photoshop, or it's Quark Express, or it's Microsoft, or something important.
Mm-hmm.
If there's anything in there that you would prevent your work from happening, then you wouldn't upgrade to Catalina.
Hmm.
I'm looking at my list. Unfortunately, a lot of my stuff is from Apple Ink Server. That's the old handwriting recognition stuff. QuickTime Player 7, which I love and I don't want to give up. And a lot of the other stuff is from Adobe. Adobe Application Manager isn't 32-bit. I've got 3 or 4 different versions of AD Manager and AAM Launcher and a bunch of Adobe stuff that will not work. Some apps will have updates to them. So you can go to the developer website and re-download the new 64-bit version. But other apps like QuickTime Player 7, Apple's not going to upgrade that to Catalina. So once I upgrade to Catalina, that app will stop working. So that's the easiest way to find out which one of your apps are Catalina capable. Bob, hopefully that helps and answers your question. Les Anderson, anybody use free antivirus? No. You ever use antivirus software, Melissa?
I have in the past. Not now.
Why don't you anymore?
I think because I have an Apple, and Apples don't get viruses.
Why do you say that?
Because you told me.
Oh, because I told you. So you're going to blame me. There's no such thing, and this is where you have to get a little pedantic and a little specific. There's no such thing as a Macintosh operating system, Mac OS, virus. Okay? A virus is defined as a piece of software code that is self-replicating that will infect your machine and then go off and infect other machines. Okay? All by itself. There's no such thing as that on the Mac. But there is stuff called malware. That's bad. That's when you go to a website and it'll pop up and say, your system is infected, or bad ads or a bunch of things like that. For the most part, Apple's software protects you against that some of that stuff, not all of it. As long as you are doing good things, not bad things, you're not downloading illegal software, you're not using BitTorrent sites, you're not getting your software from Joe's Software Shack, you have very little worry about any kind of downloading bad software. You can worry about going to websites that will install behind the scenes some software. It's gotten harder and harder and harder for the bad guys to do that, though. If your browser is up to date, the latest and greatest version of your browser, and your software is the latest and greatest stuff up to date, you're safe as long as you're not stepping outside the bounds of the legal internet. If you are, then you should definitely get some sort of antivirus, anti-malware software. But for the most part, if you're not downloading if you're not downloading illegal software or going to sketchy websites, you're pretty much okay. The other good thing about it is that because the Macintosh operating system is different code than Windows operating system, I can give you a Windows virus. I can put it on I can give you it. You can download it and click on it. It won't run on your Macintosh because the software code, the language of it, is completely different. It's like opening a cookbook that's in Russian. You wouldn't understand it. You can see the pictures. You can open it and see the pictures, but it's not going to do anything. You can't make the recipe. So for the most part, you don't really have to worry about that. MacMan does point out, I did get a call from a nice guy at Microsoft to help me fix my PC. That's not true, and MacMan knows this. If you get those kind of phone calls from somebody or an email saying that we can help you, or a text message that says, you have a virus, please call us, ignore that shit. Microsoft won't do it. Apple won't do it. No reputable company will reach out to you and say, we can help you fix your machine for just $100. That's all bullshit. Same with your ISP, especially if you're a Mac user. We had this happen when we signed up for TELUS a few months ago. TELUS said, would you like us to send you our antivirus package? No. It's free. Doesn't matter. I don't need it. I don't want it. I've been using Macs for more than 30 years now. The only virus I've ever gotten, Apple sent to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was on a QuickTime. It was on a CD that Apple had put a bunch of QuickTime videos on, and apparently the company that Apple used to replicate the CDs accidentally put a virus or malware on the CD, and we got an email from Apple saying, throw that CD away. That's the only one I've gotten in 30 years of using a computer. Touch wood. Folks, that's it for tonight's show. I want to say thanks, as always, to all you guys for being tuned to the show. Don't forget to send us your Christmas greetings. Send me an email to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com so I can, on the December 18th show, we're going to play all the Christmas greetings. Send us your name, your location, and the greeting to your family, our family, to the YML family, whatever you'd like to do. Monty's already sent his, so you can join in with Monty on the December 18th show. Also, if you are doing your Christmas shopping, if you haven't done it yet, good for you. Please come to our website at yourmaclifeshow.com, and on the left-hand side there, you can click on one of our Amazon links if you're going to shop at Amazon, like so many of us do. So many of us do. Even if you don't buy the thing you click on, there's a bunch of things there that might be of interest to you. But even if you don't buy the thing you click on, we will still get a little bit of a kickback from Amazon just because you went through our site before you went to the Amazon site. We'd appreciate it if you guys would do that. And if you want to get Your Mac Life a Christmas present, you can always subscribe to Your Mac Life for $2, $5, $10, $15 a month, whatever it might be. Right there on the left-hand side of the page, you can click on the subscribe button, and it will allow you to use your credit card or your PayPal account and send us money on a monthly basis. So if you'd so like to do that and give us a little bit of a Christmas present, we'd appreciate that as well. As always, thanks to you guys for joining us. Thanks to my beautiful wife for joining me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've been Shawn King.
I'm Melissa King.
And you've listened to Your Mac Life. See ya.
Bye.